Hello and welcome back to the reading of the Holy Bible. As you may have noticed, didn't quite get this video out on time. I will have a channel update out as soon as I'll have a channel update out today, just at a later time. As most of you know, I obviously prefer starting off the week reading the Bible and giving grace to God as we should. But as I said, let's start off with reading of the Holy Bible this time. So we were on Leviticus and we were in chapter 13 through 16 this time. All right. Discerning leprosy. Chapter 13. Discerning leprosy. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, The man in whose skin or flesh shall arise a different color, or a blister, or as it were something shining, that is, the stroke of the leprosy, shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or any one of his sons. And if he see the leprosy in his skin, and the hair turned white, and the place where the leprosy appears lower than the skin and the rest of the flesh, it is the stroke of the leprosy, and upon his judgment he shall be separated. But if there be a shining whiteness in the skin, and not lower than the other flesh, and the hair be of the former color, the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And the seventh day he shall look on him, and if the leprosy be grown no farther, and hath not spread itself in the skin, he shall shut him up again. Shut him up again other 7 days. And on the seventh day he shall look on him. If the leprosy be somewhat obscure and not spread in the skin, he shall declare him clean. But because it is but a scab, and the man shall wash his clothes and shall be clean. But if the leprosy grow again, after he was seen by the priest and restored to cleanness, he shall be brought to him, and shall be condemned of uncleanness. Diagnosis of leprosy. If the stroke of the leprosy be in a man, he shall be brought to the priest, and he shall view him. And when there shall be a white color in the skin, and shall have changed the look of the hair, and the living flesh itself shall appear, it shall be judged an inveterate leprosy and grown into the skin. The priest therefore shall declare him unclean, and shall not shut him up, because he is evidently unclean. But the leprosy spring out running about in the skin, and cover all the skin from the head to the feet, whatsoever falleth under the sight of the eyes. The priest shall view him and judge that the leprosy which he has is very clean, because it is all turned into whiteness, and therefore the man shall be clean. But when the live flesh shall appear in him, then by the judgment of the priest he shall be defiled, and shall be reckoned among the unclean. For live flesh, if it be spotted with leprosy, is unclean. And if again it be turned into whiteness, and cover all the man, the priest shall view him, and shall judge him to be clean. Study an ulcer for signs of leprosy. When also there has been an ulcer in the flesh and the skin, and has been healed, and in the place of the ulcer there appeareth a white scar, or somewhat red, the man shall be brought to the priest. And when he shall see the place of the leprosy lower than the other flesh, and the hair turned white, he shall declare him unclean, for the plague of leprosy is broken out in the ulcer. But if the hair be of the former color, and the scar somewhat obscure, and be not lower than the flesh that is near it, he shall shut him up 7 days. And if it spread, he shall judge him to have the leprosy. But if it stay in its place, it is but the scar of an ulcer, and the man shall be clean. Discerning leprosy in a burn. The flesh also and skin that hath been burnt, and after it is healed, hath a white or a red scar. The priest shall view it, and if he see it turned white, and the place thereof is lower than the other skin, he shall declare him unclean, because the evil of leprosy is broken out in the scar. But if the color of the hair be not changed, nor the blemish lower than the other flesh, and the appearance of the leprosy be somewhat obscure, he shall shut him up 7 days. And on the seventh day he shall view him. If the leprosy be grown farther in the skin, he should declare him unclean. But if the whiteness stay in its place, and be not very clear, it is the sore of a burning, and therefore he shall be cleansed, because it is only the scar of a burning. Discerning leprosy in the head or beard. If the leprosy breaks out in the head or the beard of a man or woman, the priest shall see them. And if the place be lower than the other flesh, and the hair yellow, and thinner than usual, he shall declare them unclean, because of the leprosy of the head and the beard. But if he perceive the flesh of the spot is equal to the flesh that is near it, and the hair black, he shall shut him up 7 days. And on the seventh day he shall look upon it. If the spot be not grown, and the hair keep its color, and the place of the blemish be even with the other flesh, the man shall be shaven all but the place of the spot, and he shall be shut up other 7 days. If on the seventh day the evil seem to have stayed in its place, and not lower than the other flesh, he shall cleanse them, and his clothes being washed, he shall be clean. But if after his cleansing the spot spread again in the skin, he shall seek no more whether the hair be turned yellow, because he is evidently unclean. But if the spot be stayed and the hair be black, let him know that the man is healed. Let him confidently pronounce him clean. Fate of lepers. If a whiteness appears in the skin of a man or a woman, the priest shall view them. If he find that a darkish whiteness shineth in the skin, let him know that it is not the leprosy, but a white blemish, and that the man is clean. The man whose hair falleth off from his head, he is bald and clean. And if the hair fall from his forehead, he is bald before and clean. But if in the bald head or in the bald forehead there be risen a white or reddish color, and the priest perceive this, he shall condemn him undoubtedly of leprosy which is risen in the bald part. Now whosoever shall be defiled with leprosy and is separated by the judgment of the priest shall have his clothes hanging loose, his head bare, his mouth covered with a cloth, and he shall cry out that he is defiled and unclean. All the time that he is a leper and unclean, he shall dwell alone without the camp. Disposal of leprous garments. A woolen or linen garment that shall have the leprosy 48. Pardon me. A woolen or linen garment that shall have the leprosy in the warp and the woof or a skin or whatsoever is made of a skin, if it be infected with a white or red spot, it shall be accounted the leprosy, and shall be shown to the priest. And he shall look upon it, and shall shut it up 7 days. And on the seventh day, when he looketh on it again, if he find that it is grown, it is a fixed leprosy. He shall judge the garment unclean, everything wherein it shall be found, and therefore it shall be burnt with fire. But if he sees that it is not grown, shall give orders, and they shall wash that part wherein the leprosy is, and he shall shut it up other 7 days. And when he shall see that the former color is not returned, nor yet the leprosy spread, he shall judge it unclean, and shall burn it with fire. For the leprosy has taken hold of the outside of the garment, or through the hole. But if the place of the leprosy be somewhat dark after the garment is washed, he shall tear it off and divide it from that which is sound. And if after this there appear in those places that before were without spot, a flying and wandering leprosy must be burnt with fire. If it cease, he shall wash with water the parts that are pure the second time, and he shall be clean. This is the law touching leprosy of any woolen or linen garment, either in the warp or woof or anything of skins, how it ought to be cleansed or pronounced unclean. Chapter 14. Law of cleansing the leper. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This is the right of a leper. When he is to be cleansed, he shall be brought to the priest, who going out of the camp, when he shall find that the leprosy is cleansed, shall command him that is to be purified, to offer for himself 2 living sparrows, which it is lawful to eat, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And he shall command one of the sparrows to be immolated in an earthen vessel over living waters. Living waters, an example. Waters taken from a spring, brook, or river. But the other that is alive he shall dip with the cedar wood and the scarlet and the hyssop, and the blood of the sparrow that is immolated, wherewith he shall sprinkle him that is to be cleansed 7 times, that he may be rightly purified, and he shall let go of the living sparrow, that it may fly into the field. And when the man hath washed his clothes, he shall shave all the hair of his body, and shall be washed with water, and being purified he shall enter into the camp, yet so that he tarry without his own tent 7 days, and on the 7th day he shall shave the hair of his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows, and the hair of all his body. And having washed again his clothes and his body, on the 8th day he shall take 2 lambs without blemish, and a ewe of a year old without blemish, and 3/10 of flour tempered with oil for sacrifice, and a sextary of oil apart. A sextary, this is a liquid measure about the size of a pint. The Hebrew word for it is log. And when the priest that purifieth the man hath presented him in all these things before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the testimony, he shall take a lamb and offer it for a trespass offering with the sextary of oil, and having offered all before the Lord, he shall immolate the lamb, where the victim for sin is wont to be immolated in the holocaust that is in the holy place, for as that which is for sin, so also the victim for a trespass offering pertaineth to the priest. It is holy of holies. Marking the cleansed leper. Pardon me. And the priest, taking of the blood of the victim that was immolated for trespass, shall put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and the great toe of his right foot. Taking of the blood. These ceremonies used in the cleansing of a leper were mysterious and very significant. The sprinkling 7 times with the blood of the little bird, the washing himself in his clothes, the shaving of his hair and his beard signify the means which are to be used in the reconciliation of a sinner, and the steps by which he is to return to God, namely, by the repeated application of the blood of Christ, the washing his conscience with the waters of compunction, and retrenching all vanities and superfluities, by employing all that is over and above what is necessary in alms deeds, the sin offering and the holocaust or burnt offering, which he was to offer at his cleansing, signify the sacrifice of a contrite and humble heart, and that of adoration in spirit and truth, with gratitude and thankfulness, for the forgiveness of sins with which we are ever to appear before the Almighty, the touching the right ear, the thumb of the right hand, and the great toe of the right foot, first with the blood of the victim, and then with the remainder of the oil which had been sprinkled 7 times before the Lord, signify the application of the blood of Christ, and the unction of the sevenfold grace of the Holy Ghost to the sinner's right ear, that he may duly hearken to and obey the law of God, and to his right hand and foot, that the works of his hands and all the steps or affections of his soul, signified by the feet, may be rightly directed to God. And verse 15 of chapter 14. And he shall pour out the sextary of oil into his own left hand, and shall dip his right finger in it, and sprinkle it before the Lord 7 times. And the rest of the oil in his left hand he shall pour upon the tip of the right ear of him that is cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and the great toe of his right foot, and upon the blood that was shed for trespass, and upon his head. And he shall pray for him before the Lord, and shall offer the sacrifice for sin. Then shall he immolate the holocaust, and put it on the altar with the libations thereof, and the man shall be rightly cleansed. The cleansing of a leper who is poor. But if he be poor, and his hand cannot find the things aforesaid, he shall take a lamb for an offering for trespass, that the priest may pray for him, and a 10th part of a flour tempered with oil for a sacrifice, and a sextary of oil, and 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, of which one may be for sin, and the other for a holocaust, and he shall offer them on the 8th day of his purification to the priest, at the door of the tabernacle of the testimony before the Lord. And the priest, receiving the lamb for trespass, and the sextary of oil, shall elevate them together. And the lamb, being immolated, he shall put of the blood thereof upon the tip of the right ear of him that is cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and the great toe of his right foot. But he shall pour part of the oil into his own left hand, and dipping the finger of his right hand in it, he shall sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord. And he shall touch the tip of the right ear of him that is cleansed, and the thumb of his right hand, and the great toe of his right foot, in the place of the blood that was shed for trespass. And the other part of the oil that is in his left hand he shall pour upon the head of the purified person, that he may appease the Lord for him. And he shall offer a turtle or a young pigeon, one for trespass, and the other for a holocaust with their libations. This is the sacrifice of a leper that is not able to have all things that appertain to his cleansing. Leprosy in a house. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, When you shall come into the land of Canaan, which I will give you for a possession, if there be the plague of leprosy in a house, he whose house it is shall go and tell the priest, saying, It seemeth to me that there is the plague of leprosy in my house. And he shall command that they carry forth all things out of the house before you go into it, and see whether it have the leprosy, lest all things become unclean that are in the house. And afterwards he shall go in to view the leprosy of the house. And if he see in the walls thereof as it were little dints, disfigured with paleness or redness, and lower than all the rest, he shall go out of the door of the house, and forthwith shut it up 7 days. And returning on the 7th day, he shall look upon it, cleansing leprosy from a house. If he find that the leprosy is spread, he shall command that the stones wherein the leprosy is be taken out, and cast without the city into an unclean place, and that the house be scraped on the inside round about, and the dust of the scraping be scattered without the city into an unclean place, and that other stones be laid in the place of them that were taken away, and the house be plastered with other mortar, if the leprosy has spread. But if after the stones be taken out, and the dust scraped off, and it be plastered with other earth, the priest going in perceive that the leprosy is returned, and the wall is full of spots, it is a lasting leprosy, and the house is unclean. And they shall destroy it forthwith, and shall cast the stones and timber thereof, and all the dust without the town into an unclean place. He that entereth into the house when it is shut shall be unclean until evening. And he that sleepeth in it, and eateth anything, shall wash his clothes, if the leprosy has not spread. But if the priest going in perceive that the leprosy is not spread in the house, after it was plastered again, he shall purify it. It being cured, and for the purification thereof, he shall take 2 sparrows, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And having immolated one sparrow in an earthen vessel over living waters, he shall take the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and the scarlet, and the living sparrow, and shall dip all in the blood of the sparrow that is immolated, and in the living water. And he shall sprinkle the house 7 times, and shall purify it as well with the blood of the sparrow as with the living water, and with the living sparrow, and with the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and the scarlet. And when he hath let go the sparrow to fly freely away into the field, he shall pray for the house, and it shall be rightly cleansed. This is the law of every kind of leprosy and stroke, of the leprosy of garments and houses, of a scar and of blisters breaking out, of a shining spot, and when the colors are diversely changed, that it may be known when a thing is clean or unclean. Whew, okay. Chapter 15. Uncleanness of men and their issues. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, The man that hath an issue of seed shall be unclean. Issue of seed shall be unclean. These legal uncleanliness were instituted in order to give the people a horror of carnal impurities. And then, and then shall he be judged, subject to this evil, when a filthy humor at every moment cleaveth to his flesh, and garneth there. Every bed on which he sleepeth shall be unclean, and every place on which he sitteth. If any man touch his bed, he shall wash his clothes, and being washed with water, he shall be unclean until the evening. If a man sit where that man hath sitten, he also shall wash his clothes, and being washed with water shall be unclean until the evening. He that toucheth his flesh shall wash his clothes, and being himself washed with water shall be unclean until the evening. If such a man cast a spittle upon him that is clean, he shall wash his clothes, and being washed with water, he shall be unclean until the evening. The saddle in which he hath sitten shall be unclean, and whatsoever has been under him that hath the issue of seed shall be unclean until the evening. He that carrieth any of these things shall wash his clothes, and being washed with water, he shall be unclean until the evening. Every person whom such a one shall touch, not having washed his hands before, shall wash his clothes, and being washed with water shall be unclean until the evening. If he touch a vessel of earth, it shall be broken, but if a vessel of wood, it shall be washed with water. Offerings of men cleansed of their issues. If he who suffereth this disease be healed, he shall number 7 days after his cleansing, and having washed his clothes and all his body in living water, he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, and he shall come before the Lord to the door of the tabernacle of the testimony, and shall give them to the priest, who shall offer one for sin and the other for a holocaust, and he shall pray for him before the Lord, that he may be cleansed of the issue of his seed. The man from whom the seed of copulation goeth out shall wash all his body with water, and he shall be unclean until the evening. The garment or skin that he weareth he shall wash with water, and it shall be unclean until the evening. The woman with whom he copulateth shall be washed with water, and shall be unclean until the evening. Uncleanness of women in their issues. The woman who at the return of the month hath her issue of blood shall be separated 7 days. Every one that toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening. And everything that she sleepeth on, or that she sitteth on in the days of her separation, shall be defiled. He that toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes, and being himself washed with water shall be unclean until the evening. Whosoever shall touch any vessel on which she sitteth shall wash his clothes, and himself being washed with water shall be defiled until the evening. If a man copulateth with her in the time of her flowers, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he shall sleep shall be defiled. The woman that hath an issue of blood many days out of her ordinary time, or that ceaseth not to flow after the monthly courses, as long as she is subject to this disease, shall be unclean, in the same manner as if she were in her flowers. Every bed in which she sleepeth, and every vessel in which she sitteth, shall be defiled. Whosoever toucheth them shall wash his clothes, and himself being washed with water shall be unclean until the evening. Offerings of women cleansed of issues. If the blood stop and cease to run, she shall count 7 days of her purification. On the 8th day she shall offer for herself to the priest 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons at the door of the tabernacle of the testimony. And he shall offer one for sin, and the other for a holocaust, and he shall pray for her before the Lord, and for the issue of her uncleanness. Warning against uncleanness. You shall teach, therefore, the children of Israel to take heed of uncleanness, that they may not die in their filth, when they shall have defiled that my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law of him that hath the issue of seed, and that is defiled by copulation, and of the woman that is separated in her monthly times, or that hath a continual issue of blood, and of the man that sleepeth with her. Chapter 16. And the Lord spoke to Moses after the death of the 2 sons of Aaron, when they were slain upon their offering strange fire. And he commanded him, saying, Speak to Aaron thy brother, that he enter not at all into the sanctuary which is within the veil before the propitiatory, with which the ark is covered, lest he die. For I will appear in a cloud over the oracle. Enter not. No one but the high priest, and he but once a year, could enter into the sanctuary, to signify that no one could enter into the sanctuary of heaven, till Christ, our high priest, opened it by his passion. Unless he first do these things, he shall offer a calf for sin, and a ram for a holocaust. The vesting of the high priest. He shall be vested with a linen tunic. He shall cover his nakedness with linen breeches. He shall be girded with a linen girdle. He shall put a linen mitre upon his head. For these are holy vestments, all which he shall put on after he is washed. And he shall receive from the whole multitude of the children of Israel 2 buck goats for sin, and 1 ram for a holocaust, casting lots for the 2 goats. And when he hath offered the calf, and prayed for himself, and for his own house, he shall make the 2 buck goats to stand before the Lord in the door of the tabernacle of the testimony. And casting lots upon them both, one to be offered to the Lord, and the other to the emissary goat, that whose lot fell to be offered to the Lord, he shall offer for sin. But that whose lot was to be in the emissary goat, he shall present alive before the Lord, that he may pour out prayers upon him, and let him go into the wilderness. After these things are duly celebrated, he shall offer the calf, and praying for himself and for his own house, he shall immolate it. Entering into the house of holies, and taking the censer which he hath filled with the burning of coals of the altar, and taking up, and taking up with his hand the compounded perfume for incense, he shall go in within the veil into the holy place, that when the perfumes are put upon the fire, the cloud and vapor thereof may cover the oracle which is over the testimony, and he may not die. He shall take also the blood of the calf, and sprinkle with his finger 7 times towards the preparatory to the east. And when he hath killed the buck goat for the sin of the people, he shall carry in the blood thereof within the veil, as he was commanded to do, with the blood of the calf, that he may sprinkle it over against the oracle, and may expiate the sanctuary from the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and from their transgressions and all their sins. According to this rite shall he do to the tabernacle of the testimony, which is fixed upon them in the midst of the filth of their habitation. Let no man be in the tabernacle when the high priest goes into the sanctuary to pray for himself in his house, and for the whole congregation of Israel, until he comes out. And when he has come out to the altar that is before the Lord, let him pray for himself, and taking the blood of the calf and of the buck goat, let him pour it upon the horns thereof round about, sprinkling with his finger 7 times, let him expiate and sanctify it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. The emissary goat. After he hath cleansed the sanctuary and the tabernacle and the altar, then let him offer the living goat, and putting both hands upon his head, let him confess all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their offenses and sins, and praying that they may light on his head, he shall turn him out by a man ready for it, into the desert. And when the goat hath carried all their iniquities into an uninhabited land, and shall be let go into the desert, Aaron shall return into the tabernacle of the testimony, and putting off the vestments which he had on him before when he entered into the sanctuary, and leaving them there, he shall wash his flesh in the holy place, and shall put on his own garments. And after that he has come out, and hath offered his own holocaust, and that of the people, he shall pray both for himself and for the people. And the fat that is offered for sins he shall burn upon the altar. But he that hath let go the emissary goat shall wash his clothes and his body with water, and so shall enter into the camp. But the calf and the buck goat that were sacrificed for sin, and whose blood was carried into the sanctuary to accomplish the atonement, they shall carry forth without the camp, and shall burn with fire. their skins and their flesh and their dung, and whosoever burneth them shall wash his clothes and flesh with water, and so shall enter into the camp. The date of the feast, and this shall be to you an everlasting ordinance. The 7th month, the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict your souls and do no work, whether it be one of your own country or a stranger that sojourneth among you. Upon this day shall be the expiation for you, and the cleansing from all your sins. You shall be cleansed before the Lord, for it is a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls by a perpetual religion. And the priest that is anointed, and whose hands are consecrated to do the office of the priesthood in his father's stead, shall make atonement, and he shall be vested with the linen robe and the holy vestments. And he shall expiate the sanctuary and the tabernacle of the testimony, and the altar, the priest also, and all the people. And this shall be an ordinance forever, that you pray for the children of Israel, and for all their sins once in a year. He did therefore as the Lord had commanded Moses. Oh, that was a little bit of longer than I was expecting. I know that's not the longest parts of the Bible, but it's been a while since we've had that long of 4 chapters. However, as with all parts of the Bible, it's very important, so it's definitely a good thing that we got through that today. Next time, we will be continuing on with chapter 17, 18, 19, and 20, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and God bless.